Good evening, everybody. Brett Buffington here. We are in Franklin, Texas tonight. The sheriff called this a war zone. The devastation here is incredible. This neighborhood, in essence, is completely gone. But I want to start by showing you that this town is already in the process of rebuilding. There are power lines, energy crews here right now putting power lines in the ground where just hours ago these power poles were pulled down, the power lines ripped down as this community was ripped apart by a tornado. The National Weather Service this evening, they have confirmed that it was a tornado that moved through here just after 10 o'clock this morning in this small town of Franklin, the epicenter, if you will, of the storm as it moved through. It's still unclear exactly how strong that tornado was when it came through here, but the National Weather Service says without a doubt they know this was a tornado. And you can see, again, energy crews here putting power poles back in the ground already as they work to get power back to this heavy hit part of Franklin. The sheriff here told me earlier today that in the parts that weren't so hard hit as this part of town, the power should be back on tonight as early as 8 o'clock. That is good news for people who still have homes to go to. But here in this neighborhood, you can see they are still counting the number of houses that were destroyed. This debris on the side of the road was what was pushed out of the street, so emergency crews, first responders, and now utility crews could get down into this neighborhood. Earlier today, you could not even see the road here. There are homes where the roofs are gone, there are homes where the walls are gone, and there are homes where you can only see the foundation where houses used to be. Again, only around just a little more than 1,500 people live in this town of Franklin. Tonight, some of them, the ones that we have talked to, told us their town might be broken, but their spirit, it certainly is not. The devastation here, it's incredible to look at and know that only around a dozen people were hurt. The sheriff said most of those walking wounded, they were hurt, treated by first responders here, and didn't even go to the hospital. In fact, the sheriff told me he only knew of 2 people who were taken to the hospital by ambulance, and even those people, their injuries were not that serious. Photographer Mark Lawyer is here with me in Franklin tonight. We have several crews here, and Air 11 is also here, just got overhead to survey this damage. Of course, we are working to flip that video back around soon so you can see for yourself what this looks like from above. But here from the ground, you can see that it is incredible what Mother Nature can do. I'm monitoring your comments as well here on my phone. If you have any questions or something you would like us to go back and show you, simply right there in the comments what you'd like us to do. Again, Brett Buffington here with you in Franklin, Texas, about 2 hours to the northwest of Houston in Robertson County, Texas. And we're going to take you on a little tour. If you want to know on a map where we are, we're near the intersection of South Main Street. When we tell you we're in Franklin, we're only blocks from the county's courthouse here. This is the center of where this storm hit, and it is the worst damage we have seen today here in this neighborhood. Again, just blocks from the center of town. You can see completely that houses were destroyed here, trees uprooted, power lines pulled down. Something the sheriff said in his years of growing up here in this county, he's never seen anything like this. People certainly taking this in for themselves, people who have lived here for a long time. I talked to that guy earlier trying to get in through a roadblock. Most of this town is still shut down to the general public. In fact, you can't even drive through the main farm to market road that comes into Franklin tonight. They have that shut down by police, and this neighborhood, I was told, will be shut down as well and guarded overnight because they are concerned of the possibility of looting, something they certainly don't want to happen here as this town has clearly been through enough. Taking a look, this is near the intersection of South Main, and I'll have to look at a map really quick because the street sign is bent in half. So stand by. Grant Street is what we're walking on near the intersection of South Main. If you're familiar with the town of Franklin, which we have not had a problem running into people who are from Houston, who grew up in Houston and moved here, who either have significant amount of relatives who live in Houston. A lot of people have connections we found here because they looked at our jackets or the side of our cars and knew exactly where we were from. Incredible just to see the damage here. The trees down, and as we make our way, Mark, back up the street here, I want to show you the actual yard of this house because there are so many cars that were here in this street. And one important thing is, can you see the X on the house where they actually had to go in? A lot of times you see after natural disasters like this, where first responders go in and search through what they can of the house. That X means that they have been through this house, and thankfully that there was no one found injured inside. Again, incredible to see this and know that no one lost their life in this. As we walk through this neighborhood, you're going to be able to come to the same conclusion. So we were shooting our live shot at 6 o'clock, just if you were watching, about a block from where we are right now. And Mark said, you need to come down here and look at this because it's incredible. And you can see why he said that. There's 4 cars right here just on this corner that we can count. There's an F-150 up under this tree that is completely crushed. This minivan and this Ford SUV, both of them blown up against it. There's an SUV on the other side of that where the wind just picked the cars up and shoved it over. There's a pickup truck up against the house, and I can tell you I wasn't here before the storm, so I don't know where the car was parked, but we'll get around there in a second and show you on the back of this house. There's a Ford Expedition that is on its roof, completely blown away by the storm. Don't know if it was their car or some neighbor's car, but it blew through their back fence and is upside down in this family's backyard. While across the street, this house that Mark's aiming at now, that house is completely off its foundation. The kitchen in the back, the water is still running through the pipes because the sink is missing. The entire house shifted on its foundation. And someone who lives in this neighborhood just told me that that aluminum building, the metal building just on the other side of that, is a brand new church. They just had their first service last Sunday. And this Sunday, tomorrow, their church is missing all of its windows and the roof is gone in sections. And on the other side, you can see right in, someone showed me a picture from inside that building where a 2x4 blew right through the wall and is sticking out the wall on the other side. Again, the damage here in Franklin is incredible. The National Weather Service will have a crew here certainly to survey and look at the damage to determine the speed of the wind that came through here. That will determine the strength of the tornado, so we can tell you exactly how strong the storm that hit here around 10:30 this morning was. I was talking to the sheriff earlier today. He told me that he was at his own house when the power went out, and then it was shortly after that that he got the phone call that Franklin had been the target of this storm, and that this neighborhood here in this town, just blocks from the center of town, had been destroyed. It's incredible to think when tornadoes hit, but if you look, Mark, just across the railroad tracks, over to your left, if you look that way and you see the Napa, you see up that street, you couldn't even tell there was a storm on that side of the railroad tracks, just that far away. And then here in this neighborhood, houses are missing. Now we're gonna move back down South Main Street here. Nope.
On the next block.
But you can tell us the story right now. This is the guy I was talking about. I was at the roadblock with him earlier. Can I get your name? Because we're on live with social media right now.
Chuck Batten.
And you lived here for a while, huh?
I grew up here. Yes.
Whole life?
Yes.
What was this like for you today then?
I was not here. I do not live here now. But I grew up here. This is all my family and friends and people that raised me.
So you walked back through here.
We came to help out.
Thank God they're not hurt.
Yeah, there was 4 people in the house a block over. Picked it up, threw it across the street.
With a minute. And look at this house, completely off its foundation.
Shocked no one was seriously injured or killed today.
That was some hard praying.
Yeah, very much.
Talk about this town. I was talking to a grandma who lives in a house about a block from here, and she said she's 72. She lived here most of her life, and she could name everybody on her street.
Pretty much. I know just about everybody here too. And it's a small town. They all come together and stuff like this, and I'm just glad no one was hurt.
You seen anything like this?
Not here, no. Calvert got hit like this, little town northwest of here, a couple of times, and when I was growing up, 70s and 80s, but not our town. It's the first time for me.
And you can kind of tell that because some of these homes you can tell are older homes, and they haven't had. Correct. If they were newer homes, you could tell like there'd been damage like this before, and they had to rebuild. But a lot of these are older homes. You can see.
Right. And people lost everything. I mean, this one family. There's 5 cars here. They're all gone. They're destroyed.
It's incredible that I was just talking about the number of cars and then wherever this Expedition in the back came from.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it was here. No telling where it came from.
If you're missing your Expedition, we found it for you, right?
Exactly.
And you know, it's incredible to talk to people here, and no one's spirit's really down. No one is upset. I go back to that grandma I was talking about. As she came out of her house, and her daughter came out and said, "I can't get to that side of the bed to get to your clothes because your roof's on your bed." And she goes, "Oh well."
Well, I think everybody feels the same way we do. They're just amazed that no one was killed, no one was seriously injured. So you can't help but just smile and laugh about it now.
That's perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
No one. Everyone knows their neighbor, and today they're not missing a neighbor.
Exactly. Exactly. The town is still intact from a humanity standpoint, and we can rebuild this.
Amen. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you to meet you.
You bet.
Great to meet you. I was talking to the sheriff again earlier. Go back to what he was telling me. They have opened up a shelter at the First Baptist Church here, which is just on the other side of the railroad tracks, not far from anyone who's been affected. He told me essentially, Brett, that's going to be the house for everyone who lost their house today. They are in need of things here, including food and water is what he brought up first and foremost. But as you can imagine, when you look at damage like this, people are going to need clothes. They're going to need everything. People here lost everything but their lives, and cars, their house, their clothes, so much gone. And again, I can't help but notice the spirit of the people in this town this afternoon. Again, you can see first responders, they're still out here in this neighborhood where they will be for much of the night. And we're being told that here they will shut down this neighborhood where no one can come in and out once it gets dark, which is sad that you have to think about looting, but it is great for the people who live here to have some sense that what they have left will be safe. Going through your comments really quick, going through your comments, I want to make sure that and sorry for sniffling, the temperature is dropping out here. It is very windy. I think it was warm in Houston this morning. Hey, how are you? It was warm in Houston this morning when we left, and now here, the temperature's somewhere in the lower 60s for sure. We were told earlier that people here in Franklin are under a boil water advisory. Not sure what sparked that as far as the water treatment plant or anything like that was affected or lost power, but being told that people here are under a boil water advisory. And I asked earlier the section, which was so important for Air 11 to get here so you can get that perspective of what kind of area are we looking at, that this storm was on the ground. And you can certainly tell that it was a path that these winds came through. Air 11 will certainly be able to show, once the video's back in the station, what they saw from the air. You'll be able to see the path of the storm. But somebody told me this is just several blocks wide by several blocks long here in the town of Franklin. And then it kind of jumped over a street and went through another neighborhood, not as hard, just on the other side of the main road that comes through Franklin. And I believe that's FM 46 is what we came in on. Mark, let's walk back behind this house and show everyone the foundation back here. So I want to go back here and really show, because you can see on the back side of this house where the wind took this house and picked it up, moved it over, and sat it back down, and you can see what's left there. And I believe these people must be from some humanitarian group going through looking at the damage themselves, because they were brought in by the Robertson County EMS Assistant Director. Again, you can't even make out what room was what in this house except for the kitchen, because you can clearly see the refrigerator, the pantry there in the back, still attached to the wall but blown over. Incredible to see that walker there hanging from an electrical wire that used to be inside the wall of this home. And again, that black X where emergency crews went through and made sure that no one, as best they could, was inside this house through the rubble this morning right after the storm hit. But I wanted to show Mark this, and you can see and it's hard for him to walk through the debris as he holds the camera too. But if you can see where the sink used to be, and the water in this house still running. The refrigerator still has food in it. Just the walls around the kitchen are missing. Melanie's certainly adding perspective that we've heard from so many people here, that these are just things, and that things can be rebuilt and things can be replaced. But certainly in the coming days and months, keep Franklin, Texas on your mind, because these people are going to need some help. They're going to need help replacing their houses, replacing their clothes. I was talking to that grandma. She got me today, and I'm going to share you her story at 10 o'clock tonight. Hunkered down with her 4 grandkids. She wasn't really worried about her stuff. She told me that she'd just gotten her computer out of the house, and it was a brand new computer, and she was thankful that her computer wasn't destroyed. But she said even if it was, I could get a new computer. She didn't have to worry about trying to replace a grandson, which so many people here, as you heard just talking to the guy who grew up here, so many people here are relieved to know that in a town where everyone is so close to their neighbor, they're not missing a neighbor tonight. Joanne asking where Franklin is. We're about 2.5 hours northwest of Houston in Robertson County, Texas. It's north of Bryan College Station by about 30 minutes, just north of Bryan County. And look at that. That used to be, that's the foundation for a mobile home. And that must be what, so you can see the frame. All this left is the bricks, and this is why it's so important. You hear meteorologists like Blake Matthews and David Paul tell you when there's a tornado warning, you have to get out of your mobile home if you live in one, and that is why. Because it's very clear that that is the mobile home over there. You can see the axles, and you can see the frame. And this is what happens when you get a major tornado like this that comes through and hits so quickly. You can see the home just, there is nothing left. That was someone's house, and now it's just scattered in their neighbor's yard. And you just heard the story from the guy walking down the street there. You heard the story where 4 people were in a house, and the house was picked up and carried, and they survived. And I will tell you, standing here in this neighborhood, it is tough to look at other people's lives just picked up like this and tossed around, and you have to have compassion and thoughts, and you have to think that you're going to keep these people in your prayers, certainly looking at this, because it is incredible to see what happens so quickly with weather and with Mother Nature. And these people went to bed last night in their homes, and they probably thought tonight they would be going to sleep in their own beds, and you stand here and you look at this, and you have to just take a moment and think in awe of how quickly your life can change. We were talking earlier about the path of the storm and how wide it was, and you can see just a block from here where that silver Jeep is, that brick house and the house on this side of it, barely even roof damage there. It doesn't look like anything but some sticks on the roof. And then 2 houses over, 2 lots over, there's that Expedition in someone's backyard, and there are houses that are gone, and there are houses off their foundation. And you always hear people after storms like this think or say it's like it cut off at a street, or why this house and not that house. And you look at places like Franklin, Texas tonight, and that is a question that I'm sure a lot of people will be asking in the days to come, why that house has a roof and this house doesn't. And so sad for the people of this church, but I guarantee you tomorrow morning when church service time comes, that congregation will be gathered, if not in that building, somewhere else. Because I've met so many people here today in our short time so far in Franklin, who haven't let this storm get them down one bit. And certainly I hope in the coming days we can figure out some way to help these people. And someone just mentioned in this Facebook feed that maybe we could do some kind of drive in Houston or something like that to certainly support this little town. Again, we're talking just over 1,500 people. I think it's 1,564 people in the 2010 census here. That's the population on the sign driving into Franklin. The people who live in this town in Robertson County. And again, if you have a question that I can answer for you while we're here on this brief Facebook stream, if there's a question I can answer for you, please ask it. I'm answering the ones that I can. I have heard that there's going to be a curfew here tonight for the town. Certainly trying to get that confirmed from the sheriff. He's been very busy. Do I know any details for Buffalo? We haven't been there. I know that there is another town just to the east of here that was hit. We have 2 crews here. I know that Air 11 was supposed to fly to see if that next town had a lot of damage, so certainly we'll know from that if we need to shift one of the crews from here over to there. The company that owns Tegna, the company that owns KHOU, Tegna, has several other crews here also as we help out our friends in Bryan. We have a station there, and certainly our stations across the state of Texas are wanting to know about the storm that happened here so they can share that with their audience. There's certainly a lot of interest in what's happened in Franklin. And you can hear in the microphone, I'm standing with my back to the wind, but it is back windy here tonight. The storm blew through here. With it brought some colder temperatures behind it. The wind is windy here. Now tonight, they're in for a chilly evening and a chilly night here. Thankfully, the church, the Baptist church here, opened their doors. There's a place for these people to go to get food, to get water. Certainly the Red Cross is here to help out as well. As already, the power crews are out here starting to rebuild what was taken away. And certainly by tomorrow, when the sun comes up, there will be so many people here trying to salvage what they can. Mark, can we go back? I know the camera's heavy. Can we go back 1 block? And I want to tell the story about the grandma. And I'm going to tell this story better than I can live on Facebook tonight on our 10 o'clock news. So please don't miss it. It's an incredible story. This lady is 72 years old. And the things she told me today, when you look at the damage done to her house and obviously her fear, she was inside her home with her 4 grandkids, 72, hunkered down in the hallway alone with your 4 grandboys. I can only imagine. And she said this storm, Brad, it hit so fast that by the time I got scared, it was over. She said I wasn't even worried until I opened the front door and walked outside. So I want to show you her house. And she was so kind to let us go inside and see the hallway where this happened. But her daughter by that point had gotten there, and she was working to get whatever she could out. They were going to one of her other daughter's houses, and that's where she's going to stay until she can get her house fixed, which I think she might have to demolish hers because it's kind of been shifted. She was working to get her clothes out of the dresser, and her daughter came back out and told her mother that, hey, I can't get to your side of your bedroom. I can't get to your dresser because your ceiling is on your bed. And she said, oh, well, okay. And that is how she is taking this today. That is, as you just heard from the guy we talked to here, that so many people are just relieved when they look at this damage and they look at what this storm did to their town just after 10:30 this morning. They can go in a city where every neighbor knows their neighbor and so many people know each other. They're not missing a neighbor tonight. And I think people are just so relieved here of that they have ignored the damage that's around them and know that they can replace things that are just things. Again, this is another instance where David Paul and Blake Matthews and our weather team tell you to get out of a mobile home when there's a storm like this, because that's another mobile home foundation, and this is the mobile home, and you can see just the I-beams that were the base of the mobile home just bent and twisted. And there are no walls, there's no ceiling, there's no rooms left. It's just that. And it got here, and that's what they pushed back across the road. Look at that, there's a transformer from one of the power lines here in the ditch. Power crews already working to put these back up just down the street from where we are. They're going pole by pole on the poles that were ripped down. Watch behind you, there's a power truck. And so we're kind of back up to where we started for the 6 o'clock news. And that's the house I'm talking about. This is where where that grandma and her 4 grandsons rode out this storm. She said she has so many friends in Houston. She knew exactly where we were from when we walked out. And she was worried that her friends were going to see her on the news, so hopefully they do. But she rode this out in this house. Her neighbor behind her, rescue crews had to go in and get her because there's a tree that fell on that house and trapped her. Thankfully, she is okay. Look in this car here. You can see just people with their mouths covered. Just It's incredible to see this grandma in this house, 72 years old. She told me that. She goes, I walked out of my house when this storm was over, and she said, 72, I'm still standing on my own 2 feet on my own will. She said, I can fix this house. And she told me she built this house piece by piece. In the process, she divorced her husband and kept building it. And today she walked out of it not worried one bit about any of that, just happy that her grandkids were okay and she was still standing on her own 2 feet. Her porch ripped apart. She used to have an awning here. She said it's in the neighbor's yard behind her. Her garage, well, part of it is still there. Part of it's on the power line up in front of her house. And then part of it is down the street. Behind her, that's the house where the neighbor had to be pulled out of. And then just next door, the storm picked up that truck, moved it, and ripped the entire roof and front part of her neighbor's house off. Again, incredible damage here in Franklin, Texas tonight, where 12 people were hurt, most of them what the sheriff called walking wounded. There were no serious injuries. The 2 people who did go to the hospital, they were not seriously hurt. And on this tour that we just showed you, to think of the damage that we just saw, and understand that not one person here lost their lives in a town where neighbors know each other, and tonight they're not missing a neighbor, you can't help but think that somebody's prayers got answered. So we're going to leave you with that thought as we continue our coverage here from Franklin. We're going to start working on our story for tonight's news at 10 o'clock. You can catch that on KHOU 11 News at 10. Continuous coverage, as always, on KHOU.com, here on Facebook, on Twitter, and on our other digital platform apps. For now, I'm Brett Buffington in Franklin, Texas. Please keep these people in your thoughts and in your prayers.